Happy December, everyone. As we enter what's supposed to be a festive time of year, many Canadians are feeling the pinch of inflation of the past few years. As I mentioned last month, the number of Canadians donating to charity has been on the decline for a while, well before any of us knew what a pandemic was. Yet the number of Canadians relying on charities is on the rise, so it might feel like there's little to feel festive about this year. But there are signs of recovery. Inflation has slowed, interest rates continue to drop, and discretionary money is being spent. In our final edition of 2024, we'll look at a recent example of that spending, thanks to a certain major event. Unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know what event I'm talking about. I'll also talk to one of those charities that are doing some very important work and celebrating a big milestone this year. Sometimes it's important to focus on the positive. Why? Because it's just good business. Happy December, everyone. Al here one final time in 2024 with a feel-good episode. That's right, we're talking charity and Taylor Swift. And not together, mind you, those are two very separate topics. First up, I have a great visit with Kate Horton from Ronald McDonald House Charities Canada. Kate talks about all the important work RMHC has been doing for the past 50 years around the world. It's really inspiring. You're going to want to hear this. And then our resident data expert, Sean McCormick, joins me to talk about Taylor Swift. And yes, when it comes to economic impact, I think Sean may be a Swiftie, but don't tell him I said that. Anyway, let's begin with my chat with Kate Horton. Joined by Kate Horton. She's the president and CEO of Ronald McDonald House Charities Canada. Kate, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, hi, Al. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you a little bit about Ronald McDonald Houses across Canada. Absolutely.
And I can't imagine anyone would not know what your fine charity does, but can you maybe just in a nutshell kind of let us know what it is you do?
You know, many of us across the country may not realize that, in fact, 2/3 of Canadians live outside a city with a children's hospital. And so what that means is that if your child is seriously ill or injured, your life changes immediately and you have to travel often many hours, thousands of kilometers away from your home community to seek that essential care.
Right.
That's where Ronald McDonald Houses come in. So our program spaces, Ronald McDonald Houses, are just steps away from children's hospitals so families can stay close to their child receiving essential care. And then we also have 19 family rooms across Canada. And those are spaces, Al, right inside the hospital that don't look like a hospital, smell like a hospital, sound like a hospital. It's like walking into your living room in the middle of the hospital, right. And families can just take a beat, catch their breath, do some laundry, have a snack right inside a Ronald McDonald House family room, just steps away from bedside.
I love it. I feel like, especially in this country, because we are so spread out and the major cities, you know, they're few far in between. So there must be an incredible need for your kind of service, especially in this country.
There's a huge need, Al. You know, we're super proud and grateful that across Canada, since RMHC was founded in 1981, we've supported over 468,000 families. Wow. Coast to coast. And in fact, 1 in 4 Canadians has either stayed with RMHC or knows someone who has. So our mission really touches a vast area and geography across our country. Equally, you know, as proud as we are of the families that we've served, we are grounded and inspired to do more for the families who we're not able to reach today. And in Canada, as you called out, Al, we're actually only able to meet about 20%, 1 out of every 5 families potentially who could need a Ronald McDonald House are able to stay with us today. We have about 550 bedrooms in our houses across the country, and it's not enough. We're turning far too many families away. Wow. And you just have to meet one family who stayed with us to know and hear their experience that one family turned away is far too many.
You mentioned 1981 here in Canada. If I do the math quickly in my head, that's 43 years. But actually, Ronald McDonald House worldwide, you're celebrating a pretty big milestone.
We are. It's a big year, 2024, Al. It's our 50th anniversary for RMHC globally. Wow. So the first Ronald McDonald House in the world opened in 1974 in Philadelphia. And from that little seed, an amazing mission sprouted. And today, Ronald McDonald Houses around the world, including Canada, are in over 62 different countries. There's almost 400 Ronald McDonald Houses around the world. But what's been amazing is that over that time, we've really stayed true to our core mission, which is ensuring that families have everything they need to be by the side of their sick child while they're receiving treatment. You know, our founder, Dr. Audrey Evans, was a renowned pediatric oncologist in Philadelphia. And she said something really profound. She said, you know, when a child is sick, the whole family hurts. And she really understood the importance of keeping families close as a way to really help kids not just sustain their treatments, but heal, the whole family unit to heal. And ultimately, kids and families are stronger as a result. So we're so proud today to continue Dr. Audrey's legacy in Canada. While we're not quite 50 years old yet, we had a couple of other really special milestones this year. We celebrated our 30th McHappy Day with over 100 million raised in Canada for Ronald McDonald houses. And I'm sure many of your listeners will have had the opportunity to come on out and experience the fun and joy of McHappy Day.
Yes.
And then it was also this year, the 20th anniversary of our Happy Meal program. So in Canada, a portion of the proceeds from the sale of every single Happy Meal at McDonald's restaurants all day, every day, goes to support the work that we do in keeping families close. And so this year, 20 years of the Happy Meal program, we've sold over 1 billion Happy Meals through our partners at McDonald's. And again, over $100 million raised to support families from our communities coast to coast to coast.
Well, I can tell you for certain that this household here is a big supporter of McHappy Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're kind of a weekly supporter. Anyway.
Yeah, I hear you.
Now, you mentioned, you know, all the families that have been helped. Do you have any stories you can share about anyone in particular?
You can imagine, Al, there's so many stories that come to mind. The one opportunity I had recently was to meet the Howe family who live in southwestern Ontario. Typical family in a rural community, woke up on a regular school day morning, as many of us do, the routines of normalcy, making breakfast, getting dressed, hassling the kids to get out the door on time. This particular morning for the Howe family was special because Braden, their teenage son, would be driving to school with his friends independently for the first time. And so it was another milestone moment for that family. Many of your listeners will have experienced the same. Unfortunately, on this particular day, Braden was involved in a car accident on his way to school. He was wearing a seatbelt, but he still was left with life-threatening injuries. And when that phone call came, Jill and Jed grabbed their car keys and not much else and drove over an hour down the highway to the hospital in London, Ontario, where Braden would receive essential, critical, life-saving treatment. They have another daughter, Alexa, who's Braden's younger sister, and the complexities of their life that changed in a nanosecond, suddenly they're navigating. How do they keep their family together? Where are they going to stay for the 28 days that they ended up at the Ronald McDonald House in London was really the key to their families sustaining through that time. Alexa was able to come to the house and stay with them, be close to her brother, be with her parents. And through meals, community support, recreational programming, therapeutic programming at the house, the Howe family was able to survive a really dark time. And thankfully today, Braden's fully recovered. He's thriving. He's about to finish high school. He's doing well. But to me, that's such an instrumental example of how, you know, Ronald McDonald House families are all of our families on a different day. And as we often hear, no family wants to ever think about what it might mean to need a Ronald McDonald House. But when you do need it, boy, are you glad that it's there.
That's a great example. And also, I think an example of how keeping the family together is part of that healing process. I mean, I'm sure that it helped having his parents and sister there while he was recovering.
It's true. Well, family is medicine.
Yeah.
And community is healing. And when families can't be in their home community, the Ronald McDonald House is really the next best thing. And I know when it comes to community, of course, that's in Moneris's backyard as well. You know, I would share a little bit, Al, just about how grateful we are for that Moneris partnership that supports communities right across the country and the amazing work that small businesses do to really be part of the essential fabric of every community where our families come from. You probably know we launched the Good for Small campaign with Moneris last month in October, which was Small Business Month. And it was just amazing to see how all the Moneris partners rallied around this idea of community and family and giving back.
Yeah, you're really great with the segues there. I didn't have to prompt you, but we were talking about, you're right, the Good for Small campaign, which happened during Small Business Month in October. And Moneris gave $200,000 on behalf of 12 of our businesses. And it was a great campaign. Our businesses really loved learning more about the Ronald McDonald houses and were able to tour the facilities in their area? We did this across the country.
Well, Moneris has been a partner of ours since 2017, Al, with cash and in-kind giving of over $1 million since that time. Like, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And since 2023, Moneris has been a national mission partner. And I think that was when the Good for Small campaign really started, with that significant support and that day to rally Canadians and small businesses around this idea of, helping families. Yeah,
I'm really proud that Moneris has been part of this campaign and look forward to continuing in the future. Now, holiday season's upon us, and this is a time where, on this podcast, I talk a lot about charities and charitable giving because it's needed more now than ever. Now, what sorts of campaigns are you running in the holiday season?
Yeah, well, for lots of organizations and great causes across our country, this time of year, the holiday season, the season of giving, is a massively important time. And we're so grateful to Canadians who show up and support RMHC during this time. Right now, we just launched our Never Ending Drive campaign, which is really about a visual representation to show the struggles and the challenges of parents who have critically ill children and have to travel those long, never-ending distances to get treatment. Mm-hmm. Any of your listeners who have kids or have traveled long distances in a car with kids repeatedly understand that feeling of a never-ending drive. And you can just imagine how families with sick children have that impact amplified even more. So that's really the story that we are telling, is the hurdles that families face as they travel along the road back and forth from hospital to home, and how really the Ronald McDonald House helps shorten the distance and lighten the load at a critical time.
Now, a lot of our listeners are small business owners or entrepreneurs or folks who are thinking of starting their own business. How can a small business help during this time to support Ronald McDonald House?
There's so many great examples that we highlighted out in the Good for Small campaign. Mm-hmm. I loved the story we told around Jenna Ray Cakes in Winnipeg, Manitoba. They are a wonderful small business run by two sisters, Jenna and Ashley. They run a Winnipeg-based bakery, and they do amazing work in their community, including a birthday cake club.
I love it.
Which they started to ensure that every single child staying at the Ronald McDonald House in Winnipeg who's celebrating their birthday has a chance to celebrate with a beautiful cake from Jenna Ray Cakes. And just what a meaningful and true and authentic expression of our mission and what it means to partner with community. We've had so many other great examples across the country. Power Yoga Canada in Burlington visited the Hamilton, Ontario house recently, and they've gotten so involved and excited around our mission that they've actually now since adopted a bedroom at the Hamilton Ronald McDonald House to just provide continuous ongoing support. And then we've had lots of other examples of wonderful food trucks and community partners who've come out to support the house and the families in different ways and really bring that spirit of community and, ensuring our families don't feel alone, and they're not alone when they're traveling what can often be a very lonely road.
I had the pleasure of visiting Jenna and Ashley from Jenna Ray Cakes.
Oh, did you?
Back in August for Story for Yes, We Are Open, which actually, as we record, that story will come out next Monday. But when folks hear this, it'll have already come out. So you'll be able to hear their story. They've got a great story. And also Anita from Power Yoga Canada. She was in the previous season of Yes, We Are Open.
Okay.
Both great businesses. And I'm not surprised that they both chose to support Ronald McDonald House. And I love hearing it. If folks wanted to learn more about how to give and all the great services that you guys provide, where can they learn more?
Thank you for asking that very important question. This holiday season, it's such a time of togetherness and gratitude. And, we would call on Canadians to really, if you're able to, invite you to help shorten the drive for RMHC families. And you can do that by visiting rmhc.ca to learn more about our current campaign, to learn more about how we support families, where we support families. You can also locate your local RMHC chapter on our website. That's your local house or family room. Reach out, see how you can support. They all have wish lists this time of year and are always in need of donated items, volunteering, and of course, cash donations as well. And you can also support our Ronald McDonald houses across Canada all day, every day by visiting your local McDonald's.
Thank you so much for your time today, Kate.
Thank you, Al. It's been great to talk with you.
Businesses start up for all sorts of reasons.
Yes, we are open.
These are the stories of small Canadian businesses.
Yes, we are open.
They're not business stories. They're personal stories about business.
Yes, we are open.
This season, I traveled to Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yes, we are open.
Subscribe now to, you guessed it,
Yes, we're open.
Available wherever you get your podcasts or visit yesweareopenpodcast.com. I'm joined by Sean McCormick. He's the VP of Business Development at Moneris Data Services. Sean, thank you so much for joining me again this month.
Good to be back, my friend.
Now, today we're going to talk Taylor Swift. You and David Litwin have been all over the media over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, talking about the impact that her stops in Toronto have made and kind of trying to predict, what's going to happen for those last few shows in Vancouver. So let's talk about that. Overall, was Taylor good to Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, in a word, yes.
Yeah.
We looked at week over week spending between those two shows. And what we saw right across the board was a 45% increase in total spend within that downtown core area that we created the geofence around. Like it's 45% week over week. It's an unheard of number. It's by comparison, when the Leafs are in the playoffs, we see about a 6% increase in bars and restaurant spend on a playoff night.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Leafs are God's team, right? They draw, they get people out, they get people partying. That's 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift, 45% increase in spend. Just enormous.
Yeah. Now, I mean, a lot of that spend obviously was in the hotel sector, but one of the interesting numbers that I heard in some of your interviews were movie theaters were up big.
Yeah. You know what? So movie theaters were up about 30% week over week overall. On the foreign side, they were up 67%.
Yeah.
So an interesting narrative there. And I think my take on that is that people were coming downtown. Like the Swifties, they're coming downtown, they're staying in hotels, they're, a couple $1,000 a night. They're paying a couple $1,000 each for the tickets, and they're coming downtown in the afternoon, or they're already downtown because they're staying in the hotel, and they're like, we got to do something really cheap in the afternoon. What can we do for $18
right.
each to kill 3 hours?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And I think that had, a lot to do with that. I also think when we look at things like accessory and specialty stores, 102% increase
Huge.
Over the previous week. So in specialty, you've got things like jewelry stores in specialty and accessories. I mean, think about your prototypical Taylor Swift fan.
Right.
They're a walking accessory hell. So,
so true.
There's that.
I saw a bunch of them downtown that weekend. And so speaking of which, one of the things you mentioned, I mean, restaurants were up, but not as big. But you made the point in a lot of your interviews that, they only have so much capacity. So there's not much more growth you can do, especially in downtown Toronto on a weekend. They're already packed. But what I saw when I was down there, I was at the Amsterdam Brew Club on the Saturday, it was full. Lots of Swifties there. So the regular clientele were replaced by out-of-towners. And some of my friends who came up from the US were commenting on how on their flights were full of Swifties coming to Toronto to see the show.
Yeah, it is truly a quote unquote event. That's why you see, a lot of times to their detriment, you see cities falling all over themselves to attract, World Cup games to the city.
Right.
That's a real sore spot with a lot of folks in Toronto that are looking at, the amount of money that the city is committed to spending to host those games next year. But something like a Taylor Swift, call it a mini residency. I mean,
right.
6 shows is unheard of.
Yeah.
But she's here for a week, and as far as I know, it didn't cost the city a dime.
Right.
And
maybe a little extra in security or, traffic.
Yeah, rerouting some traffic, some OT for the police and the security. But at the end of the day, the output for the city of Toronto was very little, comparatively speaking, to the net benefit that all of the merchants and the businesses and the community gained from this. And that's really what a municipality, any municipality of any size, that's what they hope to get out of a visit like this. They hope to get business. They hope it injects money into the local economy. And through that lens, a 45% increase in broadly the local economy week over week, that's a gift from above.
For sure. And it bodes well for the remaining shows that are going to happen in Vancouver. As of this recording, haven't happened yet, but I'm sure Vancouver is going to probably see a similar spike.
Yeah, I've talked to some folks out in Vancouver. We work with a lot of BIAs and whatnot out there, and they've been keeping a real close eye on what's been going on in Toronto, and they're ramping up. Now, their expectations are getting extremely high because they've seen this kind of data from us.
Sure.
So they have they have a 55,000 seat venue, just like
the Dome. Yeah.
Rogers Center, right? They got BC Place, so it serves to reason that folks visiting Vancouver and coming into the downtown core, they're going to have probably the same propensity to spend on goods and services while they were down there for that You Only Live Once event.
Right.
And I would expect that the numbers in Vancouver are going to be really similar to what we saw here in Toronto.
Well, here's hoping. Now, Sean, I want to just take this moment to thank you so much for all the times you've given us this year. This is the last episode of 2024. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing the data stories, and looking forward to doing this again in 2025. And also looking forward to a brighter picture as, interest rates keep going down, and hopefully that means spending comes up and we can have some more good news stories like this.
And your check is in the mail, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right, good.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm joined by Amanda Ibrahim. She's a senior events and sponsorship specialist at Moneris. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Al.
Now, this month, we've been talking about charity. I just finished interviewing Kate Horton about the Ronald McDonald House charity. Great story, amazing charity. They're just one of our charitable partners. Can you tell us some of the others?
We also have, we're partnered with Canadian Red Cross, Second Harvest, and CNIB as well.
Amazing. So I thought this month we would just talk about the different activities that Moneris' employees do in being charitable for this season. I mean, one of the nice things we have at Moneris is we each get a volunteer day. Can you maybe explain what that is?
Yes, Moneris encourages all of our employees to participate and donate their time to local charities and organizations. Employees can make use of this one paid day away from our regular workday to participate in volunteering activities.
Amazing. And I love doing these. What are some examples of activities that Moneris employees do?
A Moneris team across the entire organization have been volunteering their time this holiday season, including supporting holiday helpers sort, wrap, and package gifts to families with young children living in low income or poor situations. We also have a team supporting Second Harvest, sorting food donations at their warehouses, which will then be donated to agencies and families across the GTA. Our Montreal team will be volunteering at the Ronald McDonald House Charities to prepare a warm and comforting meal for the families staying at the Montreal Ronald McDonald House. And finally, we had some Moneris teams volunteer at the Canadian Red Cross Mobile Food Bank this holiday season, helping with sorting food and packaging donation boxes.
Amazing. I love seeing all the volunteer work that Moneris employees do, but also just seeing all the charities that are out there doing such great work.
Yeah, I agree.
Amanda, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
You too. Thanks, Al.
And that's all we have time for this month. I hope you found it informative. I know I did. Now, before I sign off, I'll post links to everything we talked about in this podcast in the show notes. If you're listening right now and you have any questions about any business-related topic, you can email us at podcast@moneris.com, and we'll try to answer them in future episodes. On behalf of Kate, Sean, Amanda, and the rest of Moneris, I'd like to wish you all a safe and happy holiday season. It's just good business saying thank you for listening. See you in 2025.